Hello, everybody. My name is davidji, and probably if you're here, you're a meditator, or you're on a meditation journey, or you want to level up your practice, or you want to lock it down, or you're just looking for something to do this morning, and you found us. So I figured we'd talk a little bit about the concept of meditation. We'll talk about why in the world would you consider becoming certified as a meditation teacher and go through that journey. We'll talk about what's included or involved in that. We'll meditate together, and we've got some certified teachers here, some people who've gone through this journey, and we have not prepped them on what to say or how they feel. We'll throw some hardball questions at them and allow them to share why would someone think about becoming a teacher. Well, let me just share with you my process that I went through. I had sort of found meditation when I was in college, and I went on and off. Sometimes I was like a devotee for like years with certain practices, and then it slipped away. And it became casual, and I became a crisis meditator. And then I became really just a non-meditator. And then I had, sort of like a defining moment in my life. There was this crossroads, and I knew what I didn't want to do, but I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. So I just began my exploration, I like to call it my eat, pray, love journey without the eating and the love. And was searching for answers, was searching for meaning, was searching for greater depth inside of me, was searching for purpose, was searching for really how do I want to live my life? What's going to be on my tombstone? What's going to be, what's the reason that I'm here? And so I began that journey, looking around. Of course, I traveled to India, in search of the guru. I did all the things, did all the practices, swam in the Ganges, did all that stuff, prayed, lit incense, practiced yoga, meditated, had tons of conversations, had a lot of very, very kooky and strange um, encounters as well. Very, very, very deep spiritual unfolding. Um, but when I came back from there, I had my practice locked down. That's what I did, and it pretty much consumed me. And at that point in my life, I was an extremist, so like it was only about meditation. And friends of mine were concerned that that's all I did. I wasn't working. I wasn't hanging out with people. I was just hanging out at home meditating. And a friend of mine suggested that if you really want to learn something, since it's not about teaching others, it's just about your practice. You really want to level it up. Learn about the science, learn about the mechanics, learn about all the intricacies of it. They say if you want to learn something, learn to teach it. So I succumbed to that. I was like, okay, fine. And so I went to a workshop, which was a component of a requirement, rather, of, of the Chopra Center teacher training at the time. And it was in that space that everything in my life unfolded for me. Within months, I was actually teaching every single day. And I pretty much taught every single day since 2003. And so it definitely locked in my practice, which I thought was just going to be very, very selfish. Let me just be a better meditator. Let me just be happier in my life. But as I got deeper and deeper into that process, suddenly it became so powerful inside that I wanted to share it with others. I wanted to share with others the fact that I could be the calm amidst the chaos, that I could walk into a very potentially triggering kind of situation and I wouldn't be triggered, that I slept better, that the sleep that I did, even when it was shrunk, was very, very restorative, that I became more patient, that began to live a heart-based life, only about love, only about heart, only about kindness. Do I slip off of that? Have I slipped off of that? Thousands of times. But I've actually connected to some thread inside of me that I know very quickly when I've left behind ama, toxic residue, versus ojas, sweet vital nectar. And before I wasn't so aware. So I've cultivated my awareness in this process. Does it make me a better person? It definitely makes me a better person than the person that I was. Does it make me better than anyone else? No, distinctly not. But it's also taught me that I'm not in a competition with anybody else. And so let me share with you what I think are like some of the powerful benefits that people on this journey can experience. Number one, there's this amazing book written by Joseph Campbell a whole bunch of years ago. And it's really, he's the guy who pretty much popularized the conversation of the hero's journey. It's existed for thousands of years, and he's the one who sort of like codified it, collated it, pulled it together. And, the first part of the hero's journey is the departure. The middle part is the initiation. And the third part is the return. And it's much more granular than that. But that very first part of the hero's journey begins with a calling. You are being called right now. You wouldn't be here. You'd be laying in your PJs watching TV at this point. You'd be, who knows what you'd be doing. Maybe you'd still be asleep. But obviously, if you're even thinking about meditation, if you're thinking about how can I raise my vibration, if you're thinking about there's more work for me to do here, no matter how old you are, there's a calling. You are being summoned. There is a void out there of people who can help other people connect to the stillness and silence that rests within them. It's probably the number one most essential business on the planet, but it wasn't respected over the last year as the most essential. But it's the only actual essential business that teaches people how to boost their immune system, which you would figure in the face of a global pandemic, that would be really important. No other practice out there teaches people to boost their immune systems, but meditation teacher knows how to do that internally for themselves and to share it with the world. But you're being called, summoned to step into a higher level of your life. And I think we all are. And sometimes one of the important things about the hero's journey is that it's very, very, very common and historically proven that the hero doesn't always respond to the calling. In fact, rejects the calling, disavows the calling for all the obvious reasons of fear, of like, who am I to be called? You talking to me? Am I being summoned by the divine to step into this space? You must be talking to somebody else. So there's resistance to the call, which is a very, very common aspect. But in the hero's journey, ultimately, we overcome that resistance and then take that step. They call it crossing the threshold. And that's where the departure begins. Number two, I believe that, why would you become a certified teacher? Why would you certainly become a master's of wisdom and meditation teacher? It's to help you step into your power. It's to really allow you to, in any moment, have this toolkit where you can pull out so many different techniques and modalities, depending on the moment, depending on who's there, depending on who's not there. It's an opportunity also to challenge yourself. How do we raise our vibration? We do it by challenging ourselves. With so much swirl going on and overwhelm going on in our world, it's an opportunity also to create some structure. This process is a 16-week process. For the first time ever, even the people who are joining us as panelists today have not actually experienced. We're going to have webinars every single week. So it's a full 15 weeks of webinars and then a deep dive into a virtual week together. So We're always trying to level up. We're always trying to make it even more intense. Puts more pressure on us, but it definitely is more fulfilling for the person going through the journey. So there's deep personal development that's going to unfold. We create study groups. There's a whole bunch of books that we suggest that people read, and I'll just like flash a few of them here. Obviously, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Obviously, The Heart of the Buddhist Teachings by Thich Nhat Hanh. Here's an oldie but goodie, The Crest Jewel of Discrimination by Adi Shankara. We go deep into the Gita. We explore the Upanishads. These are the ancient fundamental teachings of the Vedas, but we also make it real. So we dive into Pema Chodron, modern day, Buddhist. We dive into Don Miguel Ruiz, the Four Agreements, aspects of domestication. We even dive into nonviolent communication. Why? Because it's important that we be able to communicate to better meet our needs and to create peace in the world. We dive into one of my favorite books by Ram Dass, Paths to God. And of course, exploring all different types of Bhagavad Gitas, whether it's from the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, or the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And of course, diving into some of my books as well to help round it out so we can understand that timeless body of knowledge and the translation that has occurred over thousands of years into the most modern translations as well. So we can be better translators of these teachings. One of the things that happens is you meet new like-minded friends, which is always great. Be part of a community. Actually be part of something that's bigger than you. So everyone who goes through the training is broken out into study groups. And so you meet with your study group virtually, obviously, because the people are scattered all over the globe. And you have an opportunity to really talk about the readings, the teachings, your practice, the lesson of the week. And so there's a lot of exercises and processes that really keep you engaged throughout the journey. There are no tests, there are no quizzes, but there certainly is a lot of connection. You'll have the opportunity to become a conduit for the ancient teachings. You'll also, in this process, have fun, which I think is really important. That's my teaching modality, to enjoy this process, not to feel like you're back in school or someone's cracking the whip on you. You will definitely lock down your practice because we explore that. There's this track that's going on the whole time about meditation and your own practice and how to teach it and what does that look like and where can you teach it. We talk about the biz of meditation as well so that you're prepared when we're done to actually get out there and do that if that's what you want. We've got a third of the people who've gone through the training who had no intention to teach it whatsoever, and they're just living their lives at a higher level right now, using the tools, using the techniques, and being part of the community. You may just want this to be the additive or the value infusion into something that you already do brilliantly, and that can happen as well. You'll most definitely gain clarity on your purpose, and you'll take a deep introspective journey as well. So those are like pretty powerful, in my opinion, pretty powerful reasons to get on board. We officially kick off on July 11th. So we're really, 8 days away from beginning our journey. But I've gotten so many messages and so many emails, could you tell me more? Could you tell me more? So I recommend a discovery call. We've created discovery calls with either Nancy or Karen. So when people are asking, you could ask the most what you think might be ridiculous question or the most specific question in terms of scheduling and content and journey and tuition and like all those aspects. So that's what I would recommend for everyone to really pretty much, if now is this moment where we're being called, let's not fall asleep at the wheel. let's ask the questions. Let's maybe explore. You can always dip your toe in and then dip it back out, but you have to take the step. Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, verse 47, in this particular Gita, you have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities. And the last line, and never be attached to not doing your duty. So this is the time to act. This is that moment. Also, I do want to share, we've got 2 of our certified teachers let me do one more and a third. Okay, and there they are. So hopefully you see Jessica, Ian, and Colleen. And so Jessica, why don't you go first? And why don't you talk about, I guess, just in a brief way, what made you want to go on a certification journey, or what made you want to download all this knowledge, or whatever your reasoning was.
My name is Jess, and really why I wanted to enroll in this Masters of Wisdom meditation teacher training was to, one, study with davidji, and the second being that I had already been a Reiki master, and in my spiritual entrepreneurship and growing and trying to build my business, and I really felt like there was a missing component of confidence in how I was able to guide my students, my clients through a meditation. And I was looking to really elevate my skill set to increase my business, but also to really deepen even the knowledge that I really was seeking. And I wanted to have this connection be personal. And so that's why I really felt so called to working with davidji, because it's such an intimate experience. It's not something that you ever feel that you're just in the abyss of. You feel so connected to this community, and what I've gotten out of it, and it has grown my business. And people actually, when I have booked clients now, they see that I've studied with davidji, and they say that that's part of the reason as to why they want to work with me. And so it's actually just been such an amazing experience. And but that's really what initially got me connected to wanting to learn. Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's great. Ian, maybe you could talk a little bit about the reasons that you opted to get on this journey.
Yeah, good morning, everybody, and good morning, davidji, my guru. As always, I say I was on this journey because I would follow davidji down the barrel of a cannon, and this was a great opportunity to dive in. But the reality is, I got way more than I bargained for with this teacher training. The funny thing is, I don't think it was until probably week 15 that I realized, oh, I'm going to be a teacher of meditation. I was really looking at it from the path of, I was going to learn to meditate, which was absolutely part of it. I really connected with meditation in a different way, but it wasn't until week 15 that I realized how much you were preparing us as teachers for this. You were getting us to script out what our practice would look like, and what our creations were, and different meditations we were building, and you were walking us through this entire process. It was an amazing thing. It was really cool just being there and witnessing all the life transformation happening, and people having massive breakthroughs, myself included. And so I got way more than I bargained for. And I can't wait for deeper still.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's great. Thank you. Thank you. Colleen?
I dabbled in different workshops, read a bunch of books, and eventually in my late 50s, I found my way to Tulum, Mexico. And for the first time in my life, I did a retreat for a week on meditation, because I had started to meditate a little bit more seriously a couple of months beforehand. And so I went down there, and I almost lost my mind down there in the quietness and no distractions. In fact, the next day, the very first day, the next day, I went to davidji, and I told him that I was probably going to leave because I couldn't stand being alone by myself with all of my thoughts and all the things that were coming up for me in one day with this guy. One day. That's how magical he is at transformation. Anyway, I stayed the week, and the week wasn't enough, because I had uncovered probably more in a week with this teacher than therapists that I had been with, and just my life journey. I mean, I just never had the tools that davidji gave to me that week. And so when it was over, I felt an aching and a longing to stay connected to the community, to him. And that teacher training email just kept coming. And I didn't think it was really fancy, like a hero's journey or anything, or, a calling. I just was like, there's more. And I know that I want to spend more time with him. But then I was like, I don't want to spend the money. I don't want to take the time. Who am I to sit in that room? Oh my God, there's probably going to be a bunch of smarter people than me. But it came with a Skype call with him one-on-one. And that really, I know it sounds really shallow, but that's my truth. I wanted that 1 hour Skype call with him because I wanted to figure out more about these blocks that I was having with intimacy. And I knew that if I spent an hour gazing into his eyes one-on-one, he wouldn't let me go with my eyes going down. He would just keep trying to get that stuff out of me. And he did. And then it continued to unfold over the next 16 weeks. And it's continuing to unfold. I'm with this guy 6 years. And Nancy. And I consider him the greatest teacher of my entire life, aside from my family. And I don't even want to think about my life without working with these guys. They're just amazing. It's a long-winded story, right? But
beautiful.
The answer, the thing is, I never went to teach. I went to have a connection with the community, to learn more about myself and grow. I knew that you had the tools. I trusted that. I felt my soul rested when I was with you and Nancy. And I wanted to just continue to explore. And as a mother and a grandmother, I already knew I was a teacher. So I wanted to learn, lead by example, right? So if I could start to meditate and I already knew that it was working well for me, I figured, maybe by example it would catch on with the kids.
That's great. Colleen, that's 6 years. Ian, you got certified during the pandemic when we did everything. The first time we really, went virtual through this process. Maybe you could, talk about that. Maybe like what was the most surprising aspect of going through a full online, pretty much at your own pace, but then showing up for our virtual in residence week, and hanging out together, for a solid week.
Yeah, I've been a part of a lot of different courses because everything has been pushed out to Zoom. I was lucky enough to go into Sacred Powers that you did earlier that year via Zoom, and you did an amazing job with that. And this was so intimate, even though we were online and separated by a world. It was so incredibly intimate. I still meet with, it's been, 6 months or so since graduation. I still meet with my study group that you paired us up with weekly. We're still bouncing all of these ideas off of each other. And our experiences with meditations or apps, or, you know, they've just really become family to me. And it was a constant accountability the entire time. We were doing the weekly check-ins. You were giving us assignments, and we were reading, and I felt guided, and yet it was still very, very individualized. And that week, that immersion week, felt like we were there. I couldn't believe how connected to everybody I felt from a virtual place, but it was awesome. I have no basis of comparison because I haven't been through the teacher training live, but you know, we got to spend time with each other in the past, and I just felt like it was a great experience. I don't feel like anything was missing with it being online.
I felt the same way, and but of course, you know, of course, I'm going to come from a different perspective as well. But you know, we're committed to the whole, you know, community aspect, and you know, even doing that final week online on Zoom from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every single day. Ultimately, we all know when everyone has to pee. We all know when everyone you know, falls asleep during meditation. You know, we are so connected, and it's so rare, because like one of the things that became apparent to me at the end of that week, and really during the week, was that here we have, you know, a group of, you know, 35 people who are all rooting for each other, who are all in each other's front row. And when this ends, we go back into the world. When will we ever find that many people giving us unconditional love and support as we move through life? You know, not even when we're at family gatherings, is everyone there actually rooting for us? But here we had this group, and I just, you know, I felt that, Nancy felt that, we felt so connected. And there's a funny thing about Zoom. If we were all in a room, you know, I'd be sitting at the front of the room, and everybody would be sitting, you know, on the floor or in chairs, you know, staring, you know, in this direction. But when we're all on Zoom, we're all gazing into each other's eyes. When we're all on Zoom, we're all connected to each other. So it's extreme, it's intense. Who could be looked at, you know, for 7 straight days for 12 hours a day? But you know, it actually is a profound and beautiful experience. Jess, what would you say was the most, you know, I know you have a crystal business and a Reiki business, and you do all this stuff. You know, talk about, you know, what did getting certified, and not in terms of, you know, impressing clients or being able to have greater credibility. You already mentioned that, but like, what did it do inside of you to take your business from wherever it was to where it is right now, or maybe, you know, maybe even take your life?
So I just feel like it's something that has become so immersed in who I am as a person. When I actually signed up for the training, I had just had my sister transition from breast cancer. And so I was really needing something for myself to feel strong, that I could even really be able to be honest and vulnerable in my healing and my growth, and be able to be a teacher, because I was feeling like I needed that. I needed that support. And so I've gotten just so much love from my fellow teachers, from this community, and just feeling like I'm never alone, that I can always reach out if need be. But really, what I can say is just the confidence to keep going, the confidence to really look at even her transition with much more love and healing and growth. And everything that I do, there's not a moment where I don't think about davidji and his teachings and his lessons and his wisdoms. Every single Reiki experience that I have, or anything, just anything that I'm doing, even if I'm, having a conversation that's deep with my mom about our suffering, and I just feel like I'm just so much more elevated and in touch with myself from a confidence place, but also a way more loving place. I love myself so much more, and that's what's given me the ability to deeper connect and do this work even more fulfilling. So thank you, David G. and Nancy and everyone.
You're so welcome. Colleen, maybe you could talk a little bit about, right, the first time we met, it was the first time you had left home on your own,
for a full week, for a full week
and gone to another country. So
right.
that, probably was a little like, all right, that's like, this is the boldest thing that I've ever done in my life. But you were certainly not teaching meditation at that period of time. And I know that over the years, you've had opportunities to teach in a hospice kind of setting. I know you're like teaching those people who are getting their hair cut after chemo, helping that whole process. I know that soon you're going to be, teaching, 50 people up in a, in a work environment. So going from like never teaching anything and having full confidence you would never teach this. You were just going to like, hey, maybe I can enjoy a vacation in Mexico and they won't make me meditate too much, to it's become your whole life, certainly a foundational aspect of your life. And you have so much more confidence. Talk about like, how do you go from imposter syndrome to actually having the confidence to stand on a stage and teach people, or to even say, my heart is calling me to work in hospice and to help, certain groups of people. What's the thread from that?
My meditation practice. It's showing up every day. You see these cards, I don't know if you guys can see them, but they're index cards and they have my core values on them. And when I did teacher training, I didn't even know what those. Okay, I was in corporate America. I know about core values, but I didn't know about core values pertaining to me. And what I realized when I was in my teacher training was I got the tool to figure out my core values. And then I got to the tool to figure out how much of my time was I spending that was related to my core values. I didn't even know what they were. So like I have a core value. I want to be authentic. I want to practice forgiveness. I want to be faithful. I want to have more gratitude, more humor in my life, more compassion, blah, 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 blah. And while I was in that teacher training, doing this exercise about core values and how I want to spend my time, most of us here, I had just gone through the loss of both of my parents and some people that I love deeply. And I had an experience with hospice. And when I was doing this core value exercise, it's the question I think David G had on there was what's going to be on your tombstone or something like that. And then I remember I still have the page in my notes from the teacher training, and the word hospice came to me. And I heard God say, you're going to work with hospice. And I was like, I don't think so. I don't think so. And I just kept saying, I don't think so for a long time. And I just, when I came home from teacher training, I had a real traumatic experience happen within a few months of it. My husband got in a very bad thing that happened here. And so I was so grateful that I had gone to the teacher training, because it was actually in the teacher training that I met David G. So I had this great support system that didn't end when teacher training ended. Once he heard about my husband's accident, he was with us the whole entire time, which was over a year. Beyond that, the friendships that I had made in the community, they were all with me. And David G just kept saying to me, you just live the teachings, Colleen, live the teachings. So I don't know if I would have been able to show up to take care of my husband for that entire year and a half if I hadn't done the teacher training. So it's kind of like when you look back, you see God's magic, you see the tapestry of how the calling and then this life event, and then before you know it, you're doing that. And I became aware of my core values. I became aware of who I was in the room. I became aware of how I wanted to be in the rooms. I had a community to rely upon, and then I just kept going, living my day. And I guess things just came to me. They'd be like, "Oh, do you want to lead a meditation here at the gym?" I'm like, "No, no, no, I don't." And then they're like, "Really? Like, we think you would be really good at it." And I'm like, "Okay, like, all right." So then I would do that one, and I would have 25 pieces of paper in front of me. And then someone would say, "Hey, do you want to come down to our college, the medical school, and teach, some of that stuff that you were teaching over there?" And I'd be like, "No, not really." I went anyway. And I just keep saying yes, but my first answer is always like, "No, not me. Who am I? Like, I'm not davidji. You got the wrong person." But I don't know. I just go and I try to do my best, davidji. I am a hospice volunteer now. I can't even believe it. I can't believe it. I'm a hospice volunteer. I actually walk into the rooms with people who are at the very end of their life. And I would not be able to do this if I didn't practice meditation every day, twice a day. And I also work 3 or 4 times a month for a nonprofit organization where we support men and women who are undergoing cancer treatment. And I show up once a week for about 7 hours, and I just sit and I listen. And when the right thing comes to me, I share. "Hey, I got this great technique called 16 seconds. Hey, I got this great technique called CFL. Hey, I've got this great technique called doorknob technique." And it just flows out of me because davidji says, I don't know that it's confidence, but that's what you call it. But davidji says to me, it's because I live them. I live the teachings, and I do, because they bring me peace.
I think this is the thing. I know the practices of all 3 of you. I know what your practice is because we embedded it together, and you've chosen to live it. And I think that we know how many people dabble in meditation, and we know how many people try to squeeze it in, but then stuff happens and they can't get it done, and then a couple of days goes by, and then they become a crisis meditator, and all those things along those lines. But you guys are sort of like the living embodiment of having a practice and what that practice has done for your life. I can't take credit for that. I just pointed, but you're the ones who said, "I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to step into this. This is going to become me." You've done that, because we know how many millions of people who may have even gotten their TM mantra from Maharishi in 1970 who haven't meditated since then. They have the story, but they don't have a practice. And so you guys are the truly the living embodiment, of what that means. Maybe if each one of you could share, and Ian, you touched on it just a little bit when you were talking. After the fact, what does it mean to you to be part of this Masters of Wisdom and Meditation teacher community?
Yeah, it means absolute support. I've reached out to you and the team so many times. I mostly probably bugged Nancy, so I appreciate you, Nancy, for all of the support you give me from the from your end, but also just the massive community, the fact that it doesn't end on graduation day, the fact that you do these monthly calls, that you're always trying to continue to invest in those who have made a commitment to this, and being part of that community. Like I said, the fact that you connect us with a very specific group of people has been really helpful for me, and the fact that I have a smaller tribe within that we continue to support. I've been able to get every question I've answered just from the the group that I went through with to put out, hey, I'm unfamiliar with getting a meditation on Insight Timer. And immediately somebody was there to support me. Hey, Nancy, how do I get put on a profile on the website? Immediate support there, right? How do I make tracks, and cut music or put that stuff together? davidji, you were on explaining that entire process over the last call. So I feel like it's constant guidance and constant support. And I've been a part of so many other groups that it's once graduation, once training's over, you're on your own, good luck. And that has never, ever been the case with Masters of Wisdom and Meditation.
It's beautiful. Colleen?
It's funny. I met my husband, Rennie, about, 22 years ago. And on our first date, he asked me, so how many friends do you have? And I was like, two. He's like, two? You have two friends? And I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of an oddball. I don't really have a lot of friends. And I said, how many friends do you have? And he's like, I don't know, like 350 or something. I was like, you can't count your customers as your friends. And he goes, no, they are. They're all my friends. Anyway, long story short, when he did get hurt, I got calls like from 350 people, right? But I tell that story because this is my favorite part about having joined the davidji teacher training, is that I have a lot of friends. And I don't just, and I mean like friends. I mean friends that, I can be truly myself, quirky and weird, and I share from the deepest depths of my soul. I actually get invited to people's homes now, and I actually sleep over at their houses, and I never did anything like that before. I go on vacation with them, like Ian had said, with the study group. I'm dear, deep friendships with them. I would maybe not have a text with Nancy for a couple of months, and then all of a sudden we're texting and we're going diving deep into like love and grief and kids and issues, and because they're authentic, they're real. I mean, you're sitting in a room with people who are, you thought all this, maybe it's just me. I felt on the hero's journey, my life for the last, all those decades, I felt very alone. Like nobody cared about the things that I cared about, certainly not my kids. And so when I found that community, I was like, you guys call it the tribe. I just like dear friends. So
that's brilliant. Just be inspired.
Yes, you get people who are really in your front row. Like, I know that davidji always says that, like he's in your front, but you really understand what that means on every single level. I still, to just kind of add to what Ian and Colleen offered, I have friendships, community, support. I mean, davidji has even gone live with me on Instagram and always supported me. He just even came on my crystal live sale, and we were so honored. And I say that because it doesn't stop. I think that a lot of times when you're perhaps investing in any type of maybe spiritual program or retreat, you go home and it's like, I just did this thing, right? And you're like, how does this actually now support me in everyday life? And this is something that will continue to support you in every day, in every way of your life. And that's what I think is so magical. It's not just doing a program, receiving a certification. It's actually being able to transform and just live, for me, a more inspired life. And that's where I think it's just beyond divine. So thank you, Nancy and davidji, and Ian, Colleen as well.
Well, thank you guys. And of course, these three beings are on, our website. If you know people who want to, to learn to meditate, once you're certified, you also can get on there. And, maybe you have like 1 million hits a month. I don't know. Maybe you get have all these, thousands of followers. I don't know. But there's a real, possibility that if you're on the website, someone's going to be looking around going like, oh, I'm in Seattle, let me find a teacher in Seattle, and they would stumble into Ian. So we would, so it's really, so vital that that level of support is always there. Does anyone have any questions? Anyone who's here right now? Any questions? Susan Lay.
Oh,
Hi. Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So my question is, I am really just beginning meditating and with a practice, and I signed up for your Calm, Clear, and Truly Happy program, and I'm doing it and I love it. And I'm real enthused and I feel grateful I'm doing this, but for me to sign up for a teacher training, I'm sensing it's a little too early.
So maybe one of our panelists, would like to respond.
I'll take that. So, Susan, why do you think that it's too early? In what way do you think it's too early?
Well, just because I'm completely infatuated with meditation, but I truly know that it's without meditation, I'm not as good as I can be and clear yet. So that's all. It just seems like it's a lot to take on in a beginning for a beginner.
Oh, but I think I actually think that's the part. You sound like me. That's how I was when I went. I had just started. I really, I think that one of the things that grabbed me also too was I really wanted to solidify my practice because I knew it was really working. And I remember davidji saying something along the line of, I think he said it here again this morning, if you want to get really good at something, what do you say, davidji? Learn something, teach it. What is that pearl that you say? What did I say right?
Really yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And so by going into that class, going into that, I really threw myself in there, I did. I threw myself into that and kicking, but I went in because the practice was lifting me and changing my life in very subtle ways, in some real serious ways too. And I thought, you know what, if I could really immerse myself in this, I could actually maybe really nail down a meditation practice. And I did. I went from meditating once in the morning to twice, a day, and it came from that practice. Because one of the other things that davidji said was, don't go out and pretend that you're a teacher in any way if you're not actually showing up for the practice yourself. And I really want you guys to show up twice. So, I don't think it's too soon. I don't think it's too soon at all.
There are some schools of teacher training where they say you have to be meditating every single day for 6 months. I believe that this journey locks it in. I believe that our connection, because it's not just like, hey, see you in 16 weeks. We are connected on a weekly basis, and you are connected perhaps even more frequently with your study groups. So there's people rooting for you along the way and helping you, whether it's in an accountability aspect or whether it's, someone also commiserating with you. I didn't meditate Wednesday and Thursday either, type of thing. So we know that can happen. And that's why it's holding us all together. My role, Nancy's role, is really to create the container. And everybody else just does the magical energy work in between. And hopefully, seeing these brilliant archetypes of Jessica, Ian, and Colleen, these really are the beings who, live it. And they've gone through it. And not in a straight line. I would say each of them would say, oh, it's not like I said, oh, on day one, and I've never missed a day. No, it's peaks and valleys like everything else, but it gets strengthened as you go through that. Someone asked a question about, this is a great question. How about the reading? All those books, so little time. Did it feel manageable to you? Like, really? This seemed like a lot to get done over, a couple of weeks. my philosophy is, and I've always shared this, be a book shark. Read the book, read the book, read the book, and read it, read it, read it, read it, read it, read it, read it. And then suddenly you're like, you know what? It's a little dry. I'm not digging this. I'm not vibing with it. Put it down, pick up another, go into that. Sharks, even when they're sleeping, they never stop moving. So just be like, it's 1400 years old. It's a little dry. Put it down. Next, like, it's 2000 years old, but it's really riveting. Just go with the thing. So there are no quizzes, there are no tests. And we know whatever you read that you resonate with is going to stick. And whatever you read that you don't resonate with, what would be the purpose of cracking the whip on you and saying, no, you need to keep reading that? It's not resonating. You're never going to talk about it. It's like going to a bad movie. You don't leave the movie and then tell everyone all the details of the movie. You try to forget it as quickly as possible and move on. And so same thing with all these readings. And there are books that a lot of people never really got into, but after our week in residence, virtual in residence, where we're talking about it, they get newly inspired again. Like, oh, that book seems a little dry, but now it's my number one book that I want to read for the rest of my life. So it's so interesting how that flows in and out. Hopefully that answers your question, Catherine. Tiffany, I'm postponing until next time because of the week in November. Can you explain a bit more what the week involves? Well, Ian, why don't you talk about what that week involved for you?
I have, and you guys have probably heard already, I've got 4 little ones in the background. So I actually unplugged for a week, went off, was able to go and just immerse myself. And that week was, for me, one of the most transformative. And that's where it really started to set in. This is teacher training. We're practicing how to be teachers to this. We had spent 15 weeks on daily practice of meditation and learning the roots from the earliest wisdom traditions all the way up to the newest science supporting meditation. That 15-week journey was all about that. But this was really 7 o'clock in the morning till dinner time. We were in it. We were meditating. We were practicing with each other. We were getting repetitions on what this looks like for us to be able to be creative with the meditation and the practice, and to transfer that information to our peers. And it was so amazing. The exercises that we were brought through to start drafting what the future looked like for us, I still have written down, and I'm still creating from the things that were sparked in that week. And it was also some of the best meditation. I love the 40 days of transformation that we did at the beginning, but nothing compares to the meditations that we were walked through in that immersion week. It was transformative.
Yeah, beautiful. It's essentially, that week is essentially a retreat. It's where we just fully go in and we live these teachings. The only negative is that at the end of the week, everyone's sort of in withdrawal, as we all say, like, no, can't we go for another week? I think that's like the consistent sentiment of everyone who goes through the journey. Can we just like extend the in residence just one more week? Because there is such a depth of intimate connection. An says, can you please speak more about the time and schedule each week? We're pretty much rolling the time and schedule throughout the course of the process. We try to keep our weekly calls as early as possible, because there are people from all over the world. We've got people in Hong Kong, we've got people in Singapore, we've got people in the Middle East and in Europe, and throughout the UK, Ireland. there's so many people in so many different places in Australia. And so we're really spanning a whole bunch of time zones. And we try to connect everyone for study group purposes to that time zone. But yeah, probably it is more challenging for people who are in Asia or in the Middle East. But again, if you can make that commitment to maybe, wake up a little bit earlier or go to bed a little bit earlier, or whatever that looks like for you, and make that commitment. If we were going to do it live in person, you would take that week off anyway. So if you can say, I'm just going to carve this week out and live on Cali time, Pacific Coast time, but you will not be alone in people in your time zone or close to that, and they can give you that support. An interesting thing is, in our last teacher training, we had 3 women from Ireland, and they were concerned about that as well. And so they all rented an Airbnb where the 3 of them hung out. They all got onto Pacific time, even though they were living in Ireland at the time. They were right outside
Wow.
of, Dublin, and they were like waking up when we were waking up. They were going to bed when we were going to bed. And, they made that commitment. They said, we're going to do this thing together and we're going to make it work. And, obviously the second it ended, they were back on Ireland time. And they can continue to say that was one of the coolest things ever, because they were so present in this process. So if you're going to try to like squeeze it in between work, if you live in Asia, you could do that. You could work all day and then you could be part of this all night. I wouldn't recommend that. That would be like staying awake for 24 hours for a week. No one should have to do that or do that. But that week, that final week together, is something that you need to be able to make a commitment to. And obviously we know there are kids running around and there's other stuff. You have to go to the bathroom, you have to eat, we take breaks constantly throughout the process. But if you're not willing to make that 1 week commitment, then probably this training is not for you. But I believe that you can, no matter where you live. I don't believe money stands in the way, because we've got payment plans. I don't believe that time stands in the way, because you can adjust your schedule. When I think, I don't believe effort stands in the way, because this is on demand. You do it at your own pace. And, as long as you keep showing up and cultivating your practice, there's nothing that stands in the way of that. So I would suggest that, again, schedule a discovery call with Karen. She can explore all these different aspects with you. And she's talked to tons of people, already about this process. And I think you'll find, real value in that journey. Fiorenza, that last week has to be the jewel in the crown. It is. It's although some people say that their study groups are the jewel in the crown. The fact that they get to like hang out with like these 3 or 4, like-minded people and talk about stuff that like no one else wants to listen to you talk about. Who else are you going to say like, hey, maybe we could like chat a little bit about the crest jewel of discrimination? Who's doing that? Only people who've gone through this journey and who are in study groups.
Luann asked a question about being an extreme introvert. Ian and Colleen both commented that was them. And watching them today, you'd never think that. Can you guys talk about maybe how you felt coming into it and as an introvert, and how you felt over time, that progression make you help peel away layers so you felt comfortable, and the safety that we have in this training where you are so deeply connected that you feel like you're with family?
Yeah. For me as an introvert, it's always weird, put yourself out there, and you can always feel that pull of energy, that little bit of energy drain. But one of the things I want to circle back to, something that it seems so simple, but it was a message that I got from davidji very early on. We started this guided meditation, and as we were settling in, he said, if there are any distractions in your environment or any sensations in your body, those are part of this meditation. and that's okay. And I never thought about the distractions are part of the meditation. And I bring that into the practice here is I can slip up with you guys today. I feel like I'm part of a family with you. I trust everybody on this call. I feel connected to everybody on this call. And if I say something wrong, it's okay. It's part of this process. It's part of this chat. And I know that you're going to be there to love and support me. And likewise, I'm going to be there to love and support you too. And so it's just, it's a very freeing, I guess that little golden nugget for me was very freeing, is that I can just be authentic and the world will receive that. And I don't need to try too hard. I just have to be me.
Luann, I relate so like deeply with what you're saying. And all I can say to you is something that I learned a long time ago is that there's no growth in the comfort circle. The growth happens outside of the comfort circle. One of my affirmations for the last 30 years, as a student of Louise Hay's back in my 30s, I'm 65, going on Medicare in a couple of months. One of my affirmations was, and is still to this day, I'm willing to learn and grow. I'm willing to learn and grow. I don't have a big voice even in my own family. Around my own kitchen table with my extended family, my heart beats like this. But I'm willing to put some more loving awareness and compassion around that and be with it and then allow it to be and not have it. I spent too many years on the sidelines of my life in the land taking care of others from the time I was a child up into my 50s. And somehow the message came in, it's your time. And I said, but I'm scared. And I'm always scared. But I feel the fear and do it anyway. It's Susan Jeffers' book. Read it a long time ago. Pick it up still to this day. It's a constant companion for me. I'm not great at public speaking. It's amazing that davidji says that I'm confident because I over-prepare, I overthink. Now is your time, Luann. Don't play small. And I'm going to tell you something else, all of you. I learned this too from Wayne Dyer a long time ago. You're here because God has placed whatever you want to call your higher power, a burning desire in your heart. You can try all you want to have it go away. It's not going to go away. It's a calling. You've been called. Answer the call. We need you. The world needs you. Don't wait. Share your gifts, please. Love yourself more deeply. And in that process, you'll just be a love bug in the rest of the world. You'll be the change. You will. And when you go to bed at night, you'll feel proud of yourself.
It's beautiful. Jess, we've definitely run out of time, but maybe you could guide us in some type of energetic healing to like close out our session. You know, whatever Reiki or energy or whatever that feels like to you.
All right. This is right now, everybody's witnessing how I've gotten the confidence to do this. Okay. Before this program, I would not be able to have the confidence to say yes. Okay. So I just want to thank you, davidji. Thank you, davidji. So get ready to get confident. But if everybody here is okay, I will guide us through a really brief meditation and I will provide some energy healing. Does that work for everybody? Does everybody give me permission? Yes? Awesome. And I'll just briefly share Reiki energy is really powerful to help us release energetic blockages and tension so that we can feel just a little bit more at ease and grounded and centered with ourselves. But what I feel for this divine group here is that let's take all of this beautiful energy that you are feeling. You know, how Colleen said you've answered the calling. You know, this is the time where you've said yes to your transformation. So let's allow ourselves to just elevate that with some energy healing and a little bit of a brief little guided meditation. So wherever you are, we know that comfort is queen, as davidji so kindly shares. So let yourself just settle in. And just get super comfy. Welcome your pets if you have them, whatever feels good to you. And allow yourself to just take a nice, long, slow, deep breath in through your nose. And gently letting that go out through your mouth. And if you have it available to you, allow yourself to just softly close your eyes. And take another nice, long, slow, deep breath in through your nose. And gently letting that go out through your mouth. And just allow yourself to just start to slow down the breath by just breathing in for the count of 5. And just exhaling that breath out to the count of 6. Let's do that one more time together. Long, slow, deep inhale in. And just letting that breath flow out. And we've all joined this powerful collective in this moment because we are awakened to our healing. We are awakened to our growth. We are awakened to the power of connection that lies within us, deep within our hearts. And so I'd like for you to perhaps, even if you feel called, place your fingertips on your heart for just a moment. Letting yourself just feel the breath rise, the heart to your fingertips. And as you feel your heart in this moment, if your heart had a secret, what would it be sharing with you in this moment? Perhaps to love yourself more, to nourish yourself, to continue to transform, whatever that is. And just honoring, not judging those secrets, those whispers of your heart, and just breathing that in and gently letting that go. And if your heart could welcome in an emotion to help it heal, to help it feel more nourished, more whole, what would that emotion be? Perhaps more peace, more clarity, or even just more healing. And letting yourself just feel that, breathing that in and exhaling that out. And the intuitive mantra channeled in for us to use just briefly while you receive this energy healing is, I welcome in my growth. I welcome in my growth. I welcome in my growth. Mantra, man means mind, tra means vehicle. Letting this mantra welcome in this growth with this beautiful energy healing. And just allowing yourself to just receive in just this moment. And it's okay if thoughts come in or perhaps outside distractions. That's just your mind doing its job and being here. So letting this just be a drifting back and forth with your breath. And it's okay if the mantra becomes jumbled. I welcome in my growth. And I'm going to just do my Reiki energy, sacred prayer to just send this beautiful energy to all of us and just letting your hearts receive. I welcome in my growth. Just breathing that in and exhaling that out. And breathing that in one more time. And gently letting that go. And now with all of this Reiki energy and this beautiful energy healing, just allow yourself to place an intention. Something that speaks to your heart in this moment. And let's just breathe in that intention into your hearts. As davidji says, like a fertile seed in your heart, and breathing that in and letting that go. And now allowing yourself to take this intention and see how it benefits one person that you love, that you deeply care about in this moment. Just letting your hearts connect to that person's heart in this moment and just breathing it in for them and sending it out to their hearts. And on this last one, let's breathe it in for everybody here, everybody that joined, that shared their heart, seeing that intention unfold for this powerful sacred collective. Let's breathe it in for everybody here. And gently letting that go. And just on this last breath, just breathing in great gratitude for yourself, for showing up and just even being curious. And just breathing that in and letting that go. And whenever it feels available to you, you can start to bring the awareness back to your body by wiggling your fingers, wiggling your toes, wiggling your heart, and letting your eyes gently open. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.
Namaste. Wow, so beautiful. Well, hopefully everybody here has gotten the opportunity to ask whatever questions. If not, that's why we created, a very, very ambitious discovery call calendar. So pretty much whatever time zone you're in or whatever time. And don't put that discovery call off till like the last possible moment. Get the information that you can to allow your heart to say, not right now, or hell yeah. That's what I would suggest. Thank you so much, Colleen Dumang. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Nancy. And thank you to all the other members of our community who showed up here. We are so excited to be kicking this off July 11th. And hopefully you'll be on that journey with us. I'm so grateful to these 3 members of our tribe who, are such magnificent expressions, of these teachings, of this timeless wisdom, and of, in my deepest dreams, of what being, a certified meditation teacher really is all about. So I bow to you. Namaste. Thank you. Well, have a great rest of your weekend, everyone. Let's stay connected and keep meditating. And I feel that Reiki healing rippling through my body still right now. So thank you for that. Thank you for your brilliance. Sending you love. Namaste.